Alright, what's going on? Rob here with MV3 Trader. So lately I've been getting some comments about, Sierra chart and how that relates to the Rithmic Data. Some people have had, a lot of people actually have had some issues with the Rithmic Data and Sierra chart's latest versions. So that's what I'm talking about in this video here. So let's get into it. All right, so here we have Sierra Chart's documentation, or their page for how to get Rithmic Data to work with their latest version. And this is a pretty good resource, but I'm not going to go through everything here. The only thing I want to point out here is there's a couple changes. The first change is before you needed the rim, the bridge or whatever it's called, but to connect the Rithmic Data to Sierra chart, you no longer need that for the latest versions. Now it gets a little bit deeper than that, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We're going to cover that a little later in the walkthrough. But that's one thing, and then how you sign into your Rithmic account, right? So we're going to go into all of this. Those are the biggest changes. Those are the biggest changes. Now, before we get into the walkthrough, I would highly recommend installing another copy of Sierra chart onto your computer. You can install as many copies of Sierra chart as you want, as your computer can handle. It doesn't, of course, we know Sierra chart is not resource intensive, but I would recommend at least having a copy of Sierra chart installed on your computer that's specifically for the purposes of testing new versions, right? And that's going to save you a lot of headache. If I would have did that in the beginning, that would have probably saved me a lot of headache testing this stuff out. And I'm gonna get into some issues like later on in this video. I'm gonna get into some issues that I ran into, but the first thing I recommend is having another install of Sierra chart specifically for testing the updates, right? And that way you'll save yourself headaches. So you have your version that works, right? And you will have your other version or your other install to where you can test the new update before you take your main platform or your main setup to the newer version. Okay, so that way if something goes wrong, you can just close that install down and just keep trading with your main install like you always do, right? And if it works, then you can just go ahead and update your main install to the latest version or to whatever version that you just tested successfully, and then you'll be good to go there. All right, so if you don't know how to do that, of course, just go to getting started, click on software download, and then you're gonna just go ahead and click that right there, and then there's this big green download button, and then all of that stuff. I should have a video somewhere of how to do that, and that'll be linked right there. And also, before I get into this, shout out to everybody that commented on this video, specifically Rizvan. I hope I didn't mess your name up, but he did. I'm also link his comment right here that it encouraged me to go ahead and test this out so I can make this video to help you guys handle these updates more efficiently. All right, so enough of all that. Let's go ahead and get into the bulk of the main topic here. Okay, let me go ahead and close that down. So we're gonna go ahead and go to I already have Sierra chart open, and for your testing version, I would recommend just when you open up Sierra chart, have it open up to no chart books. You don't want any chart books, and you want to first test on just like one chart. Especially with this Rithmic stuff, just test on one chart. You want the simplest. You want to give Sierra chart the less things to do, so that you can know where the problem is, right? So for this, let me go ahead and open up a chart book. And Sierra chart by default comes with these basic chart books. I'm just going to use this chart book 1. I think the install comes with this one. If it doesn't, you got these down here, and you can figure that out. All right, so I'm going to open this up. Now, I've already went through everything, so you can see everything comes up really quickly and smoothly for me for this one, right? And you just want to go ahead and just test one chart. Nothing you don't want to do. Just make sure that your data works with Rithmic. That's all you want to do. You just want to make sure that your data works. So let me see if I can pull up another. Let me see if I can pull up NQ. And I hope this works. Since I didn't, this is in the moment here. This is in the moment. Let me just try to pull up just the regular old NQ. And I'm kind of limited to what data I can test on this with this Rithmic account. Again, I'm not gonna go into detail about that, but good. All right, so it's only one chart, so it's loading up really quickly, and there you go. All right, so how do you connect? So let's go over how do you connect to the Rithmic Data with this latest version. The version I'm using right here is 2.3.3.3, right? So we're gonna go over here to File, Data Trade Service Settings. All right, so you want to make sure there's only one Rithmic thing to choose from. You got this Rithmic Direct DTC now, right? Go ahead and click on that, click Apply to make sure that's locked in. And now you have these 3 login options, all right? So what you're gonna do is you're really just gonna use your one login. Every Rithmic account that I have, I only have one username, one password. Now there may be other situations where you have different username and passwords for each of these different things. So you have your trading information, your trading login, you have your market data login, and you have your historical data login. All right, so as far as I know about Rithmic, I've only been given one, username and password to log in for Rithmic, no matter, if I'm trading with it, or I can't see actually. So if you have like a broker account to where they have a different, you got a certain, they give you a different password to log in with that broker account so that you can execute your trades, and then the actual data, you have a different different username and password, kind of like how I have with AMP Future. So okay, you maybe had that setting, but so you got 3 different things here. So this is specifically for funded trading. You're only going to have one username and password, and you just enter that same username and password for all of these different sections here, right? So I mean, it's really that simple. You just go in, put your username, hit apply, put your password, and you got the show button here if you want to make sure that's correct. Hit apply, and then that's all you got to do. Just hit OK, and then it should connect. If you are already connected to like another data service, then what you want to do is you want to disconnect, right? And then you want to connect again just to make sure it works. Now you're connected to Rithmic Data if you get this green up here. That's how you know you're connected to Rithmic Data, right? So if you're connected to the Rithmic servers, you're good to go there. Oh, there's one more thing that I forgot to mention. And let me go back here. I keep doing this every time I forget about it. You also want to make sure that you select the right server. All right, so for funded trading, every funded trading account that I've ever did, whether you're trading in a live account or you're trading in the evaluation, you're gonna be on a Rithmic paper trading server, right? And it's going to be the Chicago area. I have aggregated. I've also tried the non-aggregated, and I didn't really see any real difference there. So for this one, I'm on the aggregated. You just, you can play around with that, right? And I'm gonna show you how not to mess that up if you play around with it. So one more time, since I did mess that up the first time, you want to make sure that you pick the Rithmic Direct DTC. That's your only option. When it's blank, this may not come up at first, so you just go ahead and put your username and passwords in there, and then you'll go back and select your server, right? Make sure you hit apply on all that stuff, and then okay. So now that's how you connect to Rithmic Data, to the Rithmic servers. If it greens up, you're connected to the Rithmic servers, so you don't have a problem with connecting to their servers. Now the other problem that you may run into is with the data. All right, so this is where things get interesting. And this is what the struggles that I had last week testing this out. So this is why I say with Rithmic Data, or when you're trying out these new versions with the Rithmic Data, this is why I say start up with just one chart and some simple chart settings. All right, so let me go into the chart settings and talk about some things there. Now I would recommend having the days to load as minimal as possible. I started out testing this with 5 days. I tried it with more days, and it took a long time, and I ran into some issues there. And we'll get into that a little bit later when I go into the recommendations. But so have this a low number, no more. I would recommend no more than 30 days looking at one symbol. So like for lately, what I've been doing, I've been having my symbol here, and then my actual trade symbol, having another trade symbol there. So I've always, I've been trading with the micros of NQ for a while, right? But I decided I want to go back and trade the E-mini, the NQ E-mini, right? So I'll put the NQ there, and I'll put the micros up here. But when you're testing this out, I would not recommend doing that. That can cause you some more issues. Just have your one symbol that you want to test have that right there, and then don't put anything else in there. All right. The rest of the stuff doesn't really matter that much. The other thing I'm going to point out is in advanced settings, continuous contract, set that to none. If you got that set to any of these other ones, that can probably cause you some issues too when testing, right? So once you test the data and all that stuff out, then you can go back and you can get these other settings together. But for testing it initially, you want to make sure that you're connected to the servers and that you don't have any issues downloading the data from the servers onto your, onto Sierra chart, right? So go ahead and set continuous contract to none. You can go ahead and do historical pullback data to none. Keep it simple. Other than that, there's nothing else to really be, or for one chart, there's nothing else you need to really be aware of with that. So go ahead and click OK to make sure all that stuff is good. And as long as you don't have any error messages while it's doing his historical download and all that stuff, then you should be good to go. Let me try out one more. I'm gonna try out, I haven't did this one yet, so we can do this one live. I'm gonna try out the micro ES. All right, let's see how this works. Okay, we can see it. So you'll get your waiting to download historical data. This should come up. You should see it, and then also you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your message log. You should be getting messages here. It should happen continuously. If it freezes up for like, I say 30 minutes or more, you probably have an issue downloading historical data, which I have ran into issues downloading historical data. But if you can get one of them to work, that's all you need. So, well, I get into the recommendations for all of that. So if it freezes up like this, it could be an issue. And this probably is an issue here. And also what you want to pay attention to is the email that you use to sign up with your broker or with Rithmic Data. You want to pay attention to that email, because one issue that you can run into if you keep trying to download historical data for too long, they have thresholds to where if you cross that threshold, then they can suspend you for the week, right? So, and if it doesn't matter if that happened on Monday or if it happened on Friday, if you one of those days, every day you have an allotted amount of data that you can download. If you cross over, it's a lot, so it's gonna take you a lot to do this. I actually crossed that download last week because I didn't know anything about it, and I just kept testing and trying, and then it was actually downloading a lot of stuff in the background. I didn't know it because this message log wasn't showing me anything, right? So that's just something to be aware of. Keep an eye out on that. They will send you warnings. I know with Leeloo also forwarded those warnings to me, so they sent me warnings as well. I didn't know because I was, it's in my email, so I'm not looking at my email when I'm, trading or something, stuff like that. I usually keep my emails, and I usually wait to the end of the day to check my emails, right? So I wasn't paying attention to my emails at all, and that's the only place that they will send you, those warnings is in your email. So I had no idea, and I just kept trying, and eventually I ended up crossing that threshold and I was suspended. That happened like on Wednesday or Thursday, so I didn't have to wait that long, and I still have other stuff. You still have live market data. They'll suspend you for the historical data only. You still get live data, so you can still trade and all that stuff, but you just won't be able to download any more historical data until your suspension is ended. And that suspension ends, well, for me it ended Friday night. So after the market closed on Friday, when I came back that night after the market was closed, I was able to once again download the historical data. So it seems after Rithmic does all their updates and all that stuff, your suspension will be lifted and you'll be good for the next week. So that's just something to be aware of. Pay attention to your emails when you're testing this. I would also recommend testing this outside of your actual trading hours so that you can pay attention to your email and keep an eye on your email, right? All right, so I think I made that point. If you had any more questions about that, just go ahead and leave them in the comment section below, but it's really that simple. So we're gonna go ahead and move on, all right? So this is like we're freezing here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the regular ES, and this, well, yeah, it should give you a message, so it doesn't matter. So anyway, go ahead and go back to the regular ES, and let's see if it works like I need it to work. just for this, since I already downloaded it, I shouldn't have any problems here. Waiting. So one thing that you may, if it gets frozen like that, I think it has something to do with the data. And I may test this. I may like clear out all of my data and test this again on another day, not today, because I've already been playing around with this a little bit today, so I don't want to mess around and do the cross the threshold over the weekend. I don't even know if they monitor it over the weekend. But one thing you can do when it's freezing like this, you can disconnect. So you get the download canceled, and then you can reconnect. And there you go. So that's how it's supposed to work. So you may have to disconnect and reconnect also. So that's another thing that you can try, right? There you go. So now I got the data, and there we go. We're good to go. No issues. Okay. Now, one more thing. I wish I would have taken a screenshot of it. But if you do cross that threshold, you wasn't paying attention to your emails, you will know you will have a little red box that show up here, and it'll say it'll be a message about downloading historical data, and it will say permission denied. Just look for that permission denied. If you see that permission denied, then you go to your emails and you start checking around with Rithmic and your broker, and to see if you crossed their threshold and your historical data downloads were suspended for the week. All right. So that's enough with that. All right, so once you have successfully tested it, now you can open up your regular trading platform. All right, so for that, I'm going to go ahead and move this message log out of the way. Matter of fact, let me keep it over here. I'm going to keep it over here just so that we can kind of see it as we go through this. And I'm going to go ahead and close this chart book. For the purposes of this example, we're just going to pretend like this is my main window that I trade from, or my main chart book that I trade from. So now I'm gonna go ahead and open that up, and then that's when I'm gonna make sure that all of that stuff works, right? So that I don't have any issues and see. So now there you go. You want to see that historical download complete, right? And then because we had an issue with the micro ES over here, these windows may not. Let me move. I know NQ is good. That's micro NQ. See that loaded. I may need to go back in my folder. So let me go ahead and give you an example of that. So what you want to do is you want to find whatever drive that your Sierra chart is installed to. I have it installed for this drive here. And you'll want to open that. So this one, it'll be this one there. And you want to go into your data, and this is where you'll see all the data, historical data, the current data, all the data is stored there, right? And we should know that SCID, that's your intraday, and DLY, that's your daily. So what you may want to do, if it's freezing like this, so I'm trying to download MES, I can disconnect this, close this up, and then delete all the MESs here, right? And then try to do it again. Now that's one thing that you can try. I'm not going to do it for this video. We're just, that may be something I test on another day or later on in the day, but just wanted to point that out. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. All right, so again, we want to make sure that we're watching this message log here. And you see this is down, we're having some download issues there. Let me see if I can load up NQ here, just so I can have a complete chart, or ES here, just so I can have a complete chart. And there we go. All right. So, like I said, this is on the weekend, so I don't have any live data, but live data is going to be the least of your problems. I can promise you that you're going to get, if you connect to the Rithmic servers, you're going to have live data. That's going to be like the least of your problems. So, we can see that I have any issues with ES. It's just the MES, so I may want to go play with the data like I said before. So there we go. And everything, let me get this out of the way. Everything looks to be good. Everything is working. I got my historical. And now once you do all of that, now you can start going back and trying to, let's say I want to get continuous data on, well, let's just say I want to get it on, I'm just going to try one chart at a time. Let's say I want to do continuous data for this one contract data for this one right here. I'm just going to do volume based. back adjust. I don't know. I'm just randomly picking one just for the examples of this test. All right, so this is why I did this. I hope you can see this. All right, so I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and read it out. I have this in my message log here that says dates not found while checking for invalid data in continuous contract data files, and that's talking specifically about MQ M9. I think that's 2019 for the M contract month, right? So this is why I said, keep your settings simple, because some things you may have some issues with. I don't know why, what this issue right here is all about. Let me go ahead and take that off just in case it's doing something in the background that I don't need for it to be doing. And this is going to lead into my recommendations, okay? So one recommendation that I would use is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the main recommendation that I would give, right? So if you already have a Sierra chart, version that's working good for you, and you don't have any issues with it, and all your Rithmic data works correctly, there's no reason that you should have to upgrade, right? So my main version, I think, is at 2276. I don't have that one up right now, but I think it's 22. I'm still on one of the older versions for my Rithmic trading, right? So that's the first thing that I recommend. If you have a version that works, there's no need for you to, if the updated versions come out and it doesn't test the way that you need it to test, then just stick with what you got, right? There's nothing wrong with testing the newer versions, but just make sure just make sure everything works before you just fully commit to the latest versions or the latest upgrades, right? So that's my first and my main recommendation. Another recommendation, if you're going to do this with the latest versions, so like I can still use this just for live trading. I don't need continuous contract for live trading. So like, let's say if I just wanted to place my trades here and then do all of my testing and my back testing, and just looking at historical information on an older version of Sierra chart, then I can do it that way. And then the other recommendations were, when you're testing, keep the settings as simple as possible. Test on one chart at a time. If you don't have a specific chart book that just has one chart book in it, make one. That's not that hard. Or you can just unlink if you got the charts linked, you can just unlink one and just test it out on that one. But just test on one chart. That's my recommendation for that. So the other recommendation that I have is more of a suggestion, is you may need to be on Sierra chart package 10 or higher. Now, originally when I was testing this, I was on Sierra chart package 5, and I did get it to a point where I was pulling live data. That was before that I realized I was crossing Rithmic's thresholds and all of that stuff. And it took me a long time to actually realize that I crossed that threshold, and my historical data download was suspended. But it did seem like it was working on package 5. And then later on that day, I went into Sierra chart support forum, and I did see where that, they did recommend that you should have Sierra chart package 10 or higher. Someone else that was another customer that was in that support forum, they said that it wasn't working when they were on package, I think one of the lower packages, but once they switched over to package 10, then it worked. I don't know how true that is, but it did seem like it was working on package 5. But then I did upgrade to package 11, and that's the package that I'm on now. But that was after I realized that I breached their historical download threshold and all that stuff. So I didn't get to check it out or test it out with package 5. So I don't know if it still works. If it really was working. It seemed like it was working, at least for live data. But I did connect to their servers. I did do that. I know that for sure. I got this box up here, the status box. I got it to green up, and for ES, I know for ES, I was pulling live data. So I don't know how true that is, but now I'm on package 11. I don't have any real issues other than maybe some data folder issues that I got to test out later with MES, right? So that's the other kind of a suggestion, that you may want to go to Sierra chart package 10 or higher if you haven't already done so. It also gives you access to the Denali data if you're interested in that. So that's basically everything that I wanted to cover in terms of Sierra chart upgrades and connecting that to the Rithmic Data. If you have any more questions, just go ahead and you know what to do. Leave those in the comment section below. And I hope you found that helpful. And good luck with dealing with Sierra chart and all the upgrades and all that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next one. Trade it easy.